William Hill sponsors Seconds Out.
Radio Rahim, sitting here in Madison Square Garden with one of my favorite guys on either side of the pond, Johnny Nelson. Man, listen, if you're not over here, I'm over there, and we're constantly breaking down big cards. Nothing changes today. This card is huge, but is this matchup really warranting the kind of attention the card's getting? Is this a mismatch, or are we looking to see something crazy Saturday night?
It's hard. I feel for Anthony Joshua because he's been training in preparation to box Jerome Miller. And outside of boxing, in the UK, I wonder how many people actually knew who Jerome Miller was outside of boxing. So all of a sudden, Jerome Miller's out of the picture and they're getting Andy Ruiz. Ruiz actually technically is probably better than Jerome Miller. The problem is this: he's taking the fight at 5 weeks' notice. He physically, you look at him, he doesn't look effective. He doesn't look all that. So if you're a casual fan, you say, "Oh, Anthony Joshua's no opponent. It's this guy here." You think, "Oh, really?" So he's going to take the criticism. AJ's in a no-win situation. He gets rid of him early. It's expected, of course. A guy stepped in at 5 weeks' notice. Forgetting he was fight fit because he'd already boxed already. If he gets rid of him late, you couldn't get rid of a guy that was he came in at 5 weeks' notice. Anthony Joshua's in a no-win situation. So the other option was to cancel the whole show and his debut here in America, which realistically, if weeks had rolled on, that would have happened. They looked at other standing opponents such as Ortiz. Not in a million years would I'd have said slip Ortiz in. You do not fight that guy at 5 weeks' notice. You prepare for him. You have time for him because otherwise it'll turn you over. So I'm glad that fight didn't come off. They were talking. So
with all that said, though, is Ruiz more a dark horse than people think? Like, does he have a shot at this thing?
Yeah, he does. Listen, the only loss he had was to Joseph Parker. You look at him and you think, what is it about him? He's fast. He's a good counterpuncher. Got busy hands. Feet aren't great, but you've got to go looking for him because you've got to go down for him. If he gets up close and gets involved with a tear-up with Anthony Joshua, that's perfect for him. But I think this is going to be about levels. Anthony Joshua's world champion. He's got most of the belts. There's a reason for that, because he elevates himself and he's head and shoulders above everybody else, and so therefore he's got to do a job on him. He can't afford to go in there and think, I'll hold this guy up, give people what they want, give him a bit of a show. He can't do that because I personally think when he boxed Carlos Takam and Takam stepped in at short notice, Takam, when he went to get rid of Takam just was more resilient than what he thought, and so I think now AJ, be professional, be focused, get on with the job, get in there, get rid of him, get out, and that's it. Forget about what Wilder did with Brazil the week before. Forget about that. He needs to concentrate on himself. And so far, the show that AJ's brought to the United States, the hullabaloo around him, he's run it right. People like him. He's approachable. He did a press conference. He had a rock star entrance for applause, and people thought, "Wow, this guy's like on point." And he's just approachable. And I think that should be Wilder in America.
Well, Wilder in America, like you said, just down the road a couple Saturdays ago, what an incredible statement he makes with one punch. Does that change the metric for you at all when you look at Joshua Wilder?
Not at all. I looked at Brazil, and even before that fight, I thought Brazil's slow. And for Wilder, with something like Wilder, you cannot go in there slow. And the worst thing, Brazil went to fight him. You got to,
The worst thing about fighting, Wilder is fighting him.
It was not boxing. You look, Tyson Fury gave the blueprint to beating Deontay Wilder. Brazil did the exact opposite. And Wilder, for the size of him, for what it is, the man can punch. And it's like Brazil forgot that. I thought, you're not the fastest star, you're not the fastest out the blocks, and you went in there to have a fight with this guy, and this guy will take you out with one shot like he did. Now yesterday, the comparison saying, well, what did Anthony Joshua do with Brazil? Anthony Joshua's in his 22nd, I think, professional fight. Deontay Wilder's in his 44th, 43rd. So he's had twice as many fights, twice as many opportunities, and you look at the opponents on his record, on Wilder's record. Of any note, of any threat, I'd say the one of any note of any threat would be Ortiz. And when Wilder took that fight against Ortiz, I said respect to the max, because everybody wants to forget this guy because he's too dangerous. And Wilder took that fight and got rid. and got the job on. Even though he was in trouble at the start stages of it, he got rid of it. And now he's made a statement saying, I'm going to fight him again. And I thought, really? All right.
Anything change when we see that fight again? I mean, these guys know each other better now. Ortiz had that success. Feels like, he let him off the hook.
Yeah.
What are we going to see?
Well, I think Wilder now is knows what he's capable of doing. And most fighters, if you beat a man once, you make sure you beat him a second time. And so I think you never know. If Wilder goes in there with complacency, then that's dangerous. But he's got to go in there with the same tinge of fear, the same cautiousness as he did in the first fight, and then he'll get the same result, a cleaner result without getting in trouble himself. But it's a good shout, it's a good fight, and I rate him for taking that fight.
Was it a mistake for Ortiz not to seize the Joshua fight? I mean, we heard all the things, but
not at all. I think for Ortiz to say no, I ain't taking this fight, it's not enough time. Totally get that. I think in the background he probably knew he was fighting Wilder down the line. So why would he take a risk fight against Anthony Joshua with 5 weeks' notice and not take a bigger fight, a fight he thinks he can win with all the notice in the world, to fight Deontay Wilder, and then if he beats Deontay Wilder, to fight Anthony Joshua on more even terms? So I totally get why it was a big no-no. So on both sides, I can see why Ortiz said no, and I can see why Joshua, he didn't come off, but I'm glad it didn't come off for Joshua to fight.
Well, two guys who appear to have or be ready to say yes, assuming that he gets past Schwartz. Looks like Fury and Dillian White are going to get it on. I'm sure Dillian's thrilled about that. What are his prospects of beating Tyson Fury? And do you see that as a fight on the same level as the other three, all three guys? Is White on the same level as Fury, Wilder, and Joshua?
I'm telling you, White is in that mix. And I'm telling you now, I think the build-up to this fight alone will be hair-raising. I think it'll make your ears bleed. I think you've got two characters that have got full belief in themselves. You've got two characters that are fiery, that are very outspoken. So even the build-up alone is gonna conjure up a lot of bad feeling. But both fighters feed off getting inside the head of the other opponent. White did it with Joshua, and he'll do it with anybody he gets in with. Fury does it as well. The problem is with Fury, the reason why he beats everybody is because they don't respect him. They don't respect what he's capable of doing because he doesn't look good. But technically, he's the best out of all of them. Technically. The biggest puncher is Wilder. The best all-rounder is Anthony Joshua. But the dark horse, the one who's the Joe Frazier of the lot of them, is Dillian White. And you get involved, you dance his dance, and Dillian White will give you hellfire. And they all conveniently, develop uneasy when it talks about Dillian White. So Dillian, he's one of the guys against Fury. He believes, he's had the better of him many times in sparring. I think it'd be a great fight. To pick a winner, I can see why both fighters could win. But I think, as I said, technically, Tyson Fury is the best technically. He might not look sweet, but technically he's the best on there. He's just not got that TNT finish like your Joshua's, like your Wilders.
Well, we're quite fortunate to have so many big boy fights to talk about, all these heavyweights getting in the ring in a short distance from each other. But something that we don't often get to say is that maybe stealing the show Saturday night, at least by my measure, could be these young women.
Yeah.
Taylor, yes, and Persoon. What do you make of that matchup? And is Katie Taylor in a little bit of trouble on Saturday night?
It's Katie Taylor. I saw her training once in Boston, 8 weeks out of a fight. We were just doing some filming out there anyway. 8 weeks out of the fight, and she was in training in the gym. 8 weeks out, she looked on point, and she said, I'm nowhere near ready yet. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm thinking, really? You look there now? And she's one of the few sportsmen, few boxers out there that actually hates all this. Hates the cameras, hates doing this media stuff. She actually just wants to fight. That's the truth. You listen to her speech, she's very softly spoken, like, I really don't want to be here. I just want to let me train, let me fight. And that's what I like about her. She loves the game more than the fame. Whereas most of these young guys that are actually fighting, they love the fame more than the game. And that's where the mistake is. And that's why she'll have longevity in our sport, because she's got it the right way around. The trappings, the fame, and the wealth comes with the success of your game. But the ones that chase the fame, they get too busy being famous, being Insta stars and stuff like that. Then it affects the game. I like her professionalism. I like her attitude. I think Katie Taylor is one of the few fighters that I will always give massive props to.
Well, along with the fame and the success come rivals. Yeah. And assuming that Katie, as you seem to predict, will be successful Saturday night, she's going to be an undisputed unified champion. Clarissa Shields managed that same level just last month. She calls herself the greatest woman of all time, the GOAT, as she likes to say. Yeah. Those two things being equal, obviously they'll never fight each other, but as rivals for that GOAT title, how do you see it?
I think Clarissa Shields has said all the right things and made all the right noise for you to quote her, to pay attention to her. But you look at performances. I'd actually go with Kate Taylor, and I know it might not go down too well over in the States, but I think Katie Taylor, I've seen her behind closed doors, I've seen her in action, I've seen her do the job. Clarissa's brilliant. I think she's outstanding. But when I see Katie fight, she's like an alley cat. She's like an alley cat. Occasionally, when she lets the shots go, when she lets the combination go, and she loves fighting. Clarissa does as well. But I just see speed, I see hunger, I see pace, I see boxing abilities. You watch when Katie boxes. Look at ringside. Look at the fighters that are there. Look at their face. Conversation stops. They're like, and that's what I'm saying. And that's the effect she has, because people think, oh, this girl's hot. She's on it. And so that's why I rate Katie, and I rate a success as well.
Yeah, fortunately, again, not only are the heavyweights getting at it, women are starting to come to prominence, and there's a lot of young prospects, under 15 fights, that are making noise and looking like they could just be phenoms. You never know who's going to be the next guy.
The problem in the women's game is it levels. And you look at Katie, and then you look at the next level. The next level is 3, 4, 5, 6 levels below her. So she looks like she's totally... she's in with a raw novice, and that's so now the youngsters are coming through who are inspired by Clarissa, who are inspired by Katie. Now they're getting the ground in, now they're getting the groundwork in, now they're getting the experience in to get the wisdom. And I don't think it'll be for another 4 or 5 years before we start to see an army of an excellent technical women that'll think, right, I can box, I can fight, I'm an all-rounder. It's going to take time.
Right. I think these women are inspiring younger women to get into the sport and see that there's reward there. But for the men, these prospects are not going to have to wait nearly that long, because there's stages built for them. I'm wondering if you had an opportunity to check out Devin Haney last Saturday night, elevated to the main event. Big moment for the guy. You never know what he was going to be able to do with it. Did you see what he did with it? What was the measure that you took of that?
So when I look at a fighter, I look at what he's done. Then you look into the background of the fighter, and he came up through the ranks. And you look at what he did. His father was very heavily involved in navigating his career and what he did, who he signed with, how he worked it. And then technically, when you saw him in the ring, when that knockout was an old school move that you wouldn't expect somebody from Devin Haney. You just think, what? Where'd you get that from? That's old school. You're a baby, man. Drop the shot to the body, move the head to the left, and got the opponent's eyes to just follow him. As he's following him, sneak the right elbow, boom. You look at the distance of the shot. Through the first one, got the distance, set himself back a bit, walked him down, done with him, boom, dropped it down. That shot, sleeped him. Now this is something. It's old school. One of my modern day hero trainers is Virgil Hunter, and he's one of the few true trainers left. Now you'll get a lot of guys that go to college, go to university, and they'll come out with all these degrees about losing weight and getting your fitness up, and that's all well and good. But Virgil is one of those coaches that will coach you about the sport, the history, the technique, and everything. And Haney, when he boxed, I thought, you've got an old head on your shoulders. I didn't think there was many people like that around left that had that kind of knowledge. And I thought, I want to see a little bit more of him, just to see a bit of a fluke. I want to see a bit more of you. See how you were when it comes up there again. But the finish was second to none, and that's why you can't beat someone like that.
Just the amount of excitement that we both have just talking about this fight, which not many people were paying attention to until it got elevated to the main event, should speak volumes for what Devin Haney's prospect is. So,
Haney and his pops, I think they set their path right, and they did the right thing in regards to what they're doing. And it's not until all of a sudden the spotlight's on him. Then you look at young fighters coming through. Look at what he's done. Just learn from that, and that's how you get your experience. That's how you get your wisdom.
Well, it looks like he's not going to wait very long to take a big bite. He's going to fight an eliminator to get to Lomachenko. I mean, to manage that in 2 fights, that we see that kid that we saw last Saturday night against Lomachenko. Is it too soon for that? How does he fare?
Well, you know what? I think that's when the proof of the pudding will be straight there. We'll find out, because Lomachenko is a don. This man is like, wow, really? And I've not seen anybody that's come near to putting him in his place yet. Apart from him, apart from Haley, and you think, wow, you know what? This has intrigued me. Let me see what you can do when it gets to that. It's very intriguing. It's not an impossible task. It's a very winnable fight, but up against one of the best, if not the best, modern day fighter at the moment.
Radio Rahim with Johnny Nelson, getting all the good analysis. Always a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Every time.
I love having you over. I'm sure I'll be seeing you on your side of the pond very soon.
You will. We'll get away with that.
Radio Rahim with Johnny Nelson.
William Hill sponsors Seconds Out.